Are you trying to figure out what's wrong with your sewing machine? I'm Liz from No Trace, and in this video I'm going to go over the 4 most common issues that might be happening with your sewing machine and how to fix them. Now this video is one video in a 2-video series where I talk about the 8 most common issues with sewing machines and how to fix them. So if you don't get the answers you're looking for in this video, check out my other video that goes over 4 more really common problems. And while I got your attention, don't forget to give this a thumbs up and subscribe to the No Trace channel to get notified of all of our videos. We put out a new video every single week. All right, problem number 1 is that you're having threads that are bunching up underneath the presser foot when you sew. You get like a bird's nest of threads right there, even bigger than this oftentimes. And the very easy way to fix that is to re-thread your sewing machine and make sure that your presser foot is in the up position when you thread your sewing machine. If you thread with the presser foot in the down position, you might get that bird's nest problem on the bottom side or the back side of your project. The second really common problem that happens with sewing machines is that it sort of chews up the edge of your fabric as you go to sew, and that gets sort of jammed down in underneath the presser foot and sort of bunched up when you're trying to start sewing. And the simple solution to that is to start sewing your stitches a little bit further down on your project so that the edge of the fabric isn't so close to the needle, and that will help prevent some of this bunching up from happening. And another way to fix that is to use a little scrap of fabric as a leader piece. So when you're sewing, just lift up your presser foot and put this scrap fabric down first. Start sewing on this piece and then bring in your project piece, and that will help avoid that bunching up that can happen sometimes. Folks will also use one of these scraps of fabric at the end of a row of stitches, and they call that an end piece. A third really common issue with sewing machines is that it's giving you loose or uneven stitches, not a nice straight line. Now there can be a few different reasons for getting these loose stitches. One of them is that your bottom bobbin might not be put in correctly. So you want to make sure that the thread is coming off the bobbin, it's really hard to see, in the same direction that your machine wants it to. So usually when you put your bottom bobbin in, it then goes up against a small hook or some kind of guide to create a little tension coming off of the bobbin. So make sure your bottom bobbin is in correctly, and all you'd have to do is take it out and switch it the other way, see if that helps your stitches look any nicer. Another way to try to fix loose or uneven stitches is to open up the throat plate. So your machine might have a little screwdriver tool to help you get these screws off, and open up your throat plate and brush out any lint that has built up down underneath your presser foot, kind of in the inner workings area of your machine. So get in there and get that lint out, and that can really help your stitches sew more nicely. Another thing to check if you're getting loose or uneven stitches is that you're using the same type of thread in your bottom bobbin as you are in your top bobbin or your upper thread. So make sure it's coming from the same spool, because if you're trying to use 2 different threads together, that can create some of those uneven stitches as well. One more reason you might be getting loose or uneven stitches is that the tension is too loose on your machine. So your machine has some kind of tension dial. My tension dial is up here. You might have a knob on the front that you turn for tension. You could even have some kind of computerized tension control. But you could try adjusting the tension to make sure that it's in the default setting, or maybe you need to increase it, make it a little tighter than the default setting. So turn that knob to increase the number or go towards the plus sign for tension. And then the last thing to check is that your needle isn't bent. So make sure you have a nice straight needle on your machine, because if it's bent, it's going to mess up your stitches. A third really common issue is getting sort of a puckered look in your seam. So the fabric is sort of bunching up around the threads and puckering. And that is usually an issue with your tension. So like I just mentioned, you'll want to adjust the tension on your machine. And if it's puckering, that means the tension is too tight. So you'll want to reduce the tension. Now, these sort of tight stitches can also mean that there is lint down in here, like I mentioned earlier. So you might need to get in there with a lint brush and remove that lint. And it could also mean that your bottom bobbin is not in the correct position, or the bottom bobbin winding isn't that smooth. So maybe it wound up with thread in a way that's kind of jumbled and imperfect. So that could be causing problems with your stitches too. So there you have it, 4 of the most common problems with your sewing machine and how to fix them. Again, like I mentioned, I've got a second video that goes over the other 4 most common problems, so make sure to check that out. I'm going to link it below in the description, and I'll also put a card right up here, so watch that video. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this was helpful for you, and if it was, I'd really love to hear in the comments below, so leave me a comment. And if you still have a question or a problem with your machine, I'd also love to hear about that, so leave that question in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel so you get notified about all of my new videos. We put out a new video every week, so I will see you again very soon. Bye!